After last week's episode, it is nice to have some cool down time. Hello and welcome to my review of Doctor Who Series 12, Episode 6, Praxeus, written by Pete McTighe and Chris Chibnall and directed by Jamie Magnus Stone. The story involves the Doctor and her companions investigating a strange virus that is occurring across the Earth. Ryan meets Gabriella in Peru, where she is looking for her friend that has gone missing, and on finding the odd corpse of a bird, Ryan takes it in his backpack. They later find an abandoned hospital with a person infected with a crystalline substance that disintegrates in front of their eyes. Graham and Yaz meet up with Jake in Hong Kong, whose husband Adam, an astronaut, has crash-landed in the Indian Ocean, but seemingly had sent Jake a text message from a location in the city. While investigating, they find a strange alien-like panel which Yaz tries to take before they are attacked by men in gas masks. In Madagascar, the Doctor finds Adam's body washed ashore and gets help from the medical researchers Suki and Amaru to bring him to the safety of Suki's lab. They recognise the birds in the area are also acting very strange. The Doctor collects Ryan and Gabriella via the TARDIS and then lands in Hong Kong to recover the others. Yaz insists on trying to get to the panel and Gabriella offers to help as the others retreat to Madagascar. Yaz and Gabriella return to the building and again try to recover the panel but find another person in a gas mask. He uses a separate panel and disappears, and Yaz and Gabriella decide to follow, finding themselves in a strange alien environment. In Madagascar, Jake is glad to see Adam, but sees that he has become infected as well. The Doctor studies the virus along with the bird corpse that Ryan had collected, and she finds that the natural enzyme of the birds are trying to prevent the alien virus from spreading, but there needs to be a better antidote, or otherwise the birds will spread it across the Earth. The Doctor suspects that there is more to Suki, and she reveals that she and others have been studying this virus that they have called Praxeus. When Yaz contacts the Doctor about their location, Suki suddenly uses a device to teleport away. Outside, Amaru is attacked by numerous birds, which then burst into Suki's lab. The Doctor escorts everyone into the TARDIS and sets course for Yaz's location. En route, she uses what she had learned to create an antidote for Praxeus, and Adam offers to test it so that the TARDIS can make more. When the TARDIS lands, the Doctor finds that they are deep under the Indian Ocean, inside a shell made from accumulated plastic waste. They find Suki tending to her unpowered alien ship. Suki reveals that the ship uses organic fuel cells, but then the Praxeus overtakes her body and kills her. They find the Doctor's antivirus has worked on Adam, and they load the supply into the fuel cells and set the ship to fly off and explode into the atmosphere to distribute the antivirus. Expectations for this week were fairly high for me, as this was written by Pete McTighe, who wrote Kablam last year for Series 11, which was a pretty solid episode that felt very traditional Doctor Who, in the sense that it was very much running up and down corridors, solving a mystery, educational undertones, turning everyday objects into something threatening, unlimited rice pudding, etc, etc, though probably not the last one. Well, with Praxeus, we have an episode that does something similar in tone to Kablam, and I'd replace running up and down corridors with travelling across the globe. But with all these ingredients in mind, I think we do have a solid 50-minute episode of Doctor Who. However, unlike last week's episode, I struggled to work out what was Chibnall and what was McTighe. If Chibnall's name wasn't on the credits, I would have thought that he would have had no input to the story whatsoever. Last week was very canon-shaking and lore-shattering, and I think just from watching it, I could guess that the Roof Doctor was probably Chibnall's idea, and maybe the fugitive subplot with the Judoon was Patel. Here, though, it seemed like everything was McTighe, and I don't even know what Chibnall's input into this episode could have been. That's not to say that this episode is terrible, however. Jodie Whittaker was really good here once again. However, when compared to other episodes of Series 12, there was nothing here that really blew me away in terms of her performance. But then again, I don't think that should be a detriment to the episode, because it's not trying to be a story like Spyfall or Fugitive of the Judoon where her entire world was shaken up. Even so, if you look back across Doctor Who's 57-year history, 90% of the time it's just what the threat is this week and not really let's change the Doctor's world entirely. My favourite moment came when she confronted Suki towards the end of the episode. I loved her anger at her for using the Earth as just an experiment or a petri dish, endangering a whole planet so they can save the remains of a doomed species. However, I like how she did offer to help Suki from stopping the virus, and is always looking for the best solution, as opposed to just fighting villains that are black and white in their motivations. Other things I liked was her introduction running across the beach and shouting for help. That was pretty great, and her reaction to the Praxis virus spreading across Zack's body was really good. She's clearly shaken by this, but keeping calm for the other characters on the beach so as to not cause a huge panic. A similar moment was when she comforted Adam, who was infected by the virus, and she calmly told him what would happen. The Doctor doesn't sugarcoat things, she tells things how they are, and she won't lie to give people false hope. The one thing I have to criticise the Doctor for, though, is saving Jake before the ship exploded. Now, in the context of this series and what happened a few weeks ago, it kind of feels like a cheat. For example, at the end of Orphan 55, she didn't save Kane and Bella despite being back in the TARDIS and could easily have come back for them in the millisecond before the planet blew up. Just saying, but I think that's more Orphan 55's fault than this episode, which I'll come back to in a little while. Aside from that moment, it was actually quite refreshing to see the 13th Doctor safely in her comfort zone this series, after a few episodes by Chibnall such as Spyfall and Fugitive of the Jadoon. It is refreshing to see a 13th Doctor that isn't put through hell every week and seems to be mostly on top of things. I also loved her final line, "We're all separate 7 billion people on this earth, but we're all connected because we all live on the same planet." Great stuff. Companions this week were a mixed bag. I'll start with Graham. My favourite moment was his scene on the beach with Jake, and they broke down Jake's relationship with Adam. I think my favourite moment came when there was no dialogue, but it was just a simple look. Jake asked Graham how hard it is to be married to someone who you think is impressive, who means the world to you, and just that simple look that Graham gives, you could tell the memory of Grace came back to him. Just incredible acting from Bradley Walsh, and I loved the advice he gave to Jake, who felt insecure about his relationship with Adam. The simple advice was, it's not just Adam that you're punishing yourself here, it's yourself by not opening up to him. The Doctor has been quite closed off from her companions this series, as to not let them worry about her. Maybe we could get a similar scene later on in this series where her companions sit down and talk with her about the past in even more depth than we had, say, last week. It does link quite nicely to the end of the last episode, where her companions tell the Doctor that they know about her in the present, and that seems to be a theme this series that is carrying on throughout the episodes, as in saying, living the best in the present so you can make the best future. For example, Orphan 55 is about stopping climate change in the future by making changes in the present. The episode Nikola Tesla, the work you make in the present can have great impact on people in the future. I like how it's linking with both the plot and the characters so far. Though as for Yaz this episode, just wasted again. Now I like how she did take initiative and noticed the infected people were after a certain piece of equipment and that she decided to do investigation with Gabriella by herself and being independent, but a lot of it was just going ooh and ah at what they were discovering, and it felt like nothing of value was being discovered. Plus, Yaz thinks what they find at the bottom of the Indian Ocean is an alien planet, but the Doctor just corrects her by the end. Again, it just makes the character look weak and not very intelligent. If this was a third episode, I could have forgiven this, but we're a series and a half into these companions' adventures with the Doctor, and Yaz has just been mostly a nothing presence. Why have her if she's not going to do anything? Ryan also didn't really have much to do either. Again, performance was good, but I felt like he wasn't given anything to work with. I liked his scene with Gabriella in the TARDIS, but it kind of felt like it wasn't needed, and just detracted from the main story. Like, they just added too much. Now once again, 3 companions is just way too much for this new era of Doctor Who, and I think one of them has to go. The problem is, if you make it Yaz, it might not have much of an impact because she doesn't really add anything much to the episodes. I think Graham would be the one to go here because he does feel the most fleshed out, and I know he's the most popular amongst fans, but I think getting rid of him would definitely have the most emotional impact. As for our supporting characters this week, they were a mixed bag for me, but let's start with the positives. As a couple, I really liked Warren Brown as Jake and Matthew McNulty as Adam. I liked how their relationship was not perfect with each other, and Jake feels that Adam can never truly love him because Adam flies across space and Jake feels massively inferior to all of that. Both of their performances were great, and I really bought that they were a couple who had strong feelings for each other. My favourite moment was when Adam told Jake to stop dodging life, and Jake's face, about to well up with tears, just said it all, really. McNulty also really sold me on Adam's virus. He looked really unwell and I was hoping that he wouldn't die from this. And while I like that both of them survived at the end, it could have been quite bold if Jake sacrificed himself for everyone on Earth. He's been dodging life a lot, but now he has the chance to save all life on Earth, and a darker ending could have been nice to see. However, to compare this to Orphan 55, I think one of the reasons why I and a lot of other fans felt cold by that episode was because everyone ended up dying and the entire episode was about failure. Nothing is accomplished by the end and there's a feeling of little hope for the future. But here, in this episode, relationships are rekindled, the Earth is saved, but there's still an issue that we need to tackle as a species. And the premise of pollution and climate change was the premise throughout this episode, rather than the twist, which is why I think this episode succeeded over Orphan 55. We also have Molly Harris as Suki, and I liked how similar to Kablam, this wasn't a mustache-twirling villain, but rather had reasons for her actions. She was trying to find a new cure and believed that the ends justified the means, and I like how there were shades of grey to this, as opposed to just a black and white evil villain. Finally, we have Gabriella, played by Joanna Borgia, and honestly, this character did nothing for me. She just stood around and complained about how no one knew about her vlog channel and thinking she was famous for it, but the joke was never funny for me and it just fell flat. She just felt really tacked on, or just someone for Yaz to talk to in the middle. Performance-wise, she was fine, but she honestly felt really pointless. It would have been a lot better if she was cut from the story entirely, I think. Production-wise, this episode was pretty top-notch once again. All the location work looked gorgeous and felt distinct from one another. I loved the lighting underneath the Indian Ocean and inside the spaceship. The blues and yellows contrasted really well with each other. The scenes on the beach looked fantastic, as well as the interior of the warehouse. And one thing that's really standing out to me about this era of Doctor Who is how cinematic and gorgeous it looks. They can take everyday locations and make them look stunning. The highlight of the production was definitely the spread of the virus across humans. The effect was really grotesque and sickening. Though in all honesty, it did remind me of this scene from The Simpsons.
Wait! You gotta use these drops. They prevent your eyes from crusting over.
Oh, here we go with the add-ons. No thanks.
Yep, I've now made this episode completely unscary for you. So, to conclude, Praxeus is a solid episode. It's not going to change your life or knock your socks off, but it's fun and enjoyable entertainment with a bit of intelligence to go with it. Though its place in the series is rather odd. We've just come from an episode that had shocking revelations and twists, but it doesn't seem to have any acknowledgement from any of this, almost as if the story arc is completely on hold for a week. And while I am all for standalone episodes that don't necessarily have to connect, I just think we needed a bit more connection to the story arc. It'd be like in, say, the Key to Time season, the Doctor and Romana hunt for segments of the Key to Time, and in one story, they don't even bother to look for a segment, and it's literally just filler for the whole story, and then they go off and find a segment. I'm not too sure. Let me know what you guys think. However, I don't think this should be a huge detriment to Praxeus, as I have been enjoying these standalone episodes that this new era definitely has to offer. Well everyone, that's all from me. Be sure to like, share and subscribe. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of Praxeus, and I shall see you all next time, and I hope you can hear me. Goodbye.